Hey everybody, today I'm going to be showing you how super quick and easy it is to install SuperATV's winch and winch mount on this Kawasaki KRX 1000. So let's jump right in. The first thing that we're going to do is get in our box and grab our winch mount. It's going to look just like this. And we're going to install it to our machine. We're going to come over here on the driver's side and slide the mount in. Just have to kind of angle it back by the front differential. And if you see these holes right here in the mount, there's going to be tabs sticking out on the frame. You'll just line it all up. And then we're going to grab our two longest bolts in the kit. They'll be M10 by 70s, two M10 by 30s, two M10 flat washers. And then we're going to go ahead and start installing our hardware. Our M10 by 70 or our long bolts are going to go down through these holes right here. We'll take our two flat washers and we'll slide them on the back side. We'll just take our washer, slide it onto the threads, and grab our M10 nut and go ahead and get them started. We'll do that on both sides on the bottom portion. Then we'll go up here to these top two holes. We'll grab the other M10 bolt, slide them through the mount and through the frame. And then on the back side, just go ahead and start your nut. Then we'll just go through and we'll fully tighten all of the hardware here. Next thing we're going to do is grab our fair lead adapter out of our winch mount kit. And we're going to grab our fair lead and fair lead hardware out of the winch kit. We're going to take the short Allen headed screws provided with the winch, flat washers, slide them into the fair lead. And we're going to line it up with the holes on the fair lead adapter here. And we're using only the fair lead plate today. If you're utilizing a 3,500 pound winch, you'll have to use the adapter in order to install it. Let's go ahead and fully tighten these. Make sure you get them nice and tight. Next, we're going to go ahead and grab our winch. We pulled out some rope here. We're going to take our winch rope and we're going to run it through the opening in the winch mount. Just like this. Once we get it pulled up here, we'll go ahead and take our winch and slide it into position. As you're installing it, you'll kind of have to rotate your winch around. There we go. Now we're going to secure the winch using the 4 bolts provided in the winch kit. And today we are installing a 4,500 pound winch, so we're going to line up our outside holes. We'll go ahead and get all of those started. I like to get the top one started first, that way it kind of holds it in place for me. And we'll go down here to the bottom holes, kind of move around our winch a little bit until we get them lined up. Let's go through and then just hand tighten all of them as tight as you can get them with your hands. Kind of move the winch around a little bit as you're doing it. Just like this right here. And it should kind of self-center itself. Once you have all your hardware started, go ahead and fully tighten all the hardware. And whenever I tighten my hardware, I like to tighten it in an X pattern. Just start at the bottom, then go across to the top. Make sure you get everything nice and tight. Then we're going to go ahead and grab our winch rope and our fair lead plate. We're just going to slide the rope all the way through. And we'll go ahead and take the last 4 bolts in our hardware kit and get them all started into the threaded inserts and the winch mount. Then we'll just go ahead and tighten all the hardware here. So next we're going to grab our stop block out of the hardware kit. This is going to be included with the winch. There's going to be 4 Allen headed screws that'll look just like this. There'll be 8 washers and then 4 nylock nuts. So what you want to do is take your screw, put a washer on it, and go to the SuperATV side. It doesn't really matter which side the screws go through. We just put them in on the SuperATV side like that. We'll slide it on the rope. Then you want to make sure that the flat side of the stop block is going up against the machine and the side that has the opening is going towards the end of the rope. I like to flip it over. Take my other 4 washers, slide them onto the threads. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and fully tighten all the hardware here. It's an Allen, 4mm Allen on one side, and then a 10mm socket on the other. Now we're going to go ahead and grab our clevis. We'll take it, remove the cotter pin, remove the pin, and then slide the pin through the clevis as well as your winch rope. Just like that. Just go ahead and take your cotter pin, slide it back down through the pin here. And then just attach your pull strap. It's as easy as just sliding on the hook just like that. And now it's time to start some wiring. All right, so now we're inside the machine. What we're gonna do is go ahead and remove our driver's side seat. We're just gonna reach right down here to the front and there'll be a little lever. We'll grab a hold of the lever. And as you can see, here's the lever. You just grab a hold of that and the seat cushion will just pop right out of the way. And then with our seat scooted all the way forward or all the way back, you'll be able to see some bolts. We'll go ahead and scoot it all the way back so you can see these bolts. There's a bolt here as well as here. We'll want to go ahead and remove both of these bolts. And then we'll scoot our seat all the way forward. And there'll be 2 bolts back in behind, located right here as well as right here. Then we'll just go ahead and grab our seat and remove it from the machine. And then you'll want to remove these 2 covers from your battery. They'll go on right here as well as here. We can just set those out of the way. And we'll go ahead and remove the 2 bolts securing the battery hold down. Straight up on it. Go ahead and remove your factory spacers as well. And then you'll want to go ahead and loosen the hardware for your battery terminals. And you'll swiggle those right off the battery. We already have a lot of our hardware loosened up just for installation purposes, just to make it go by a little bit faster here for you. And then you'll see these 2 vent lines on the battery. Don't worry about those. They'll come right out with it. Get your battery and sit it somewhere where it's not on the ground. We're going to sit ours on our wooden bench over here. And then what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and remove the following screws. This one right here, this one right here, and then on the same exact side, we'll remove this screw just in the opposite location. And then these two push pins here. These push pins here. And again, we've already got these push pins pulled out just to make the installation go by that much faster. This push pin back here, as well as this one here. So these two. And then straight down over here, you'll see we have a push pin. We'll go ahead and remove it. And then this one. And you'll want to remove 1, 2, 3 push pins from the side panel, and then the forwardmost ones, you'll go ahead and leave those in place. You'll have a push pin here, as well as a push pin here you'll have to remove as well. And then we'll go over to the opposite side and go ahead and remove all the push pins that run back and behind our center console here where your 2 cup holders are. So we'll go ahead and just remove our seat cushion the same way we did on the other side, but we don't have to remove the entire seat itself. And then we'll remove these push pins right here. Then the screw that we removed from the opposite side as well. Go ahead and remove the following push pins and then the panel. So now that we're back on the driver's side, we're going to grab a hold of this trim panel right here. We're going to pick up and kind of pull this center one out of the way a little bit. And then we're going to go ahead and pull our plastic for our center console here back just enough so we can get access into here. So the next thing you're going to do is grab your yellow and blue wires out of your kit. This is going to go to your winch. As you can see, we have a piece of loom on our wiring here. It's not absolutely necessary. It's all personal preference on how you like to install wiring. Whenever I install my wiring, I like to make it as clean as possible, and using this loom is going to make it look great. It's going to keep the wires tied together without having to use a zip tie or anything like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start running our wires through this channel that we opened up here. But we're going to start by going up underneath this bar. We're going to go down and below the gas tank, and we're going to feed them right up through this pocket. We're going to pull some slack through. And then there's going to be this bar right here. Our wires are going to go on the other side of it. So down below, and you're just going to continue feeding your wires down and through here. You're going to start feeding them towards the front of the machine. And you're going to shove them in there as far as you can. Then you're going to come over to the passenger side where we remove the side panel. So you're going to reach down through the side panel that we opened up, grab both wires, just continue pulling them forward. And then if you go out to the front of the machine, if you look right here in the firewall, you'll see a hole. We're going to run our winch wires through that hole. So you're just going to reach right through the side panel that we removed and just feed your wires straight through. We'll go ahead and pull them all the way out. And I like to run them on the inside of this frame rail here. So they'll go down and around just like this. And you'll take your blue wire and connect it to the blue labeled stud. Go ahead and get it on there, put your washer on, and put your nut back on. And then do the same exact thing for the yellow post with your yellow wire. Another thing, before you attach these, you want to make sure that you put the covers on. They'll be provided in the kit. You'll just slide them right on the wire. And then just slide them right onto the stud. Make sure your washer's on there. Start your nut. And then we'll pull all our slack back towards the rear of the machine. And again, just to make it look that much cleaner, I like to go ahead and pull my wiring loom out towards the front. That way the least amount of actual coated wire is showing. It just makes it look that much cleaner. And if you reach right up into the access hole, right next to the radiator hose, you're gonna feel a clip that's big enough to where you can stick a loomed wiring set in there, and it'll just clip shut. That's gonna keep your wiring and everything off the prop shaft. And you can utilize that even if you're not using wiring loom. It just keeps it up off the prop shaft. So next we're gonna grab our hot and our ground wire. We've went ahead and cut down these two wires. They're excessively long for how we're gonna be doing this install. We went ahead and cut our hot wire down to 30 inches. Now this is an approximate number. You'll wanna definitely check yours, you know, cut it to 32, 33, check it, and then take off as much as you need. That way it just cleans it up, makes it look nicer. On the ground wire, we went ahead and cut it to 23. Again, don't cut yours exactly to 23 the first time. You know, leave yourself a little bit of room just in case you mess up on the connection or anything like that. It just makes it so you can still have extra. Now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna connect our hot wire to our hot terminal. Obviously our battery's out on this machine, and we've went ahead and loosened this bolt right here. So we'll go ahead and remove it completely. As you can see, there's already a wire on that. We'll go ahead and slide our wire underneath of it. Take the factory bolt, just go ahead and bolt it back down. And we're not gonna fully tighten it just yet because we wanna, you know, see how our wiring's gonna lay out and which way we may need to turn this connector. So we're just gonna go ahead and get it started, and we'll just kind of hand tighten it. Just like that. So that's hand tight. Whenever we hook our battery back up, that's going to be a all-time power or hot. And we're going to go over here to the ground wire. We'll remove the nut off of the stud here. We're going to go ahead and leave the washer on. We'll take our ground wire, go ahead and slide it onto the stud, and then we'll go ahead and install the nut back to the stud there. And again, we're going to leave it loose. One, because we need to put our terminal back onto our battery post, and two, we want to make sure that we have our wiring routed in the right location. So we'll leave those loose, and then our next step is going to be to find out where we want to mount our solenoid. So, you know, our machine doesn't have a bus bar that's completely wired up. We have a keyed on power source, but we don't have a full-time hot or ground on it. So with that being said, we're going to get our hot and our ground off of the battery. That's the easiest way to do it for our setup we have here. You can wire in your bus bar, and instead of wiring your hot and your ground to your battery, you can go straight to the bus bar. Makes it a little bit easier, makes it so you have more places to wire to bolt your solenoid on. But we're gonna be installing our solenoid back here and getting all of our power from back here as well. When we first installed this winch, we found that the best place to mount the solenoid, like I said, if your accessory bar is not powered up, is right here in this location. It tucks all the wires out of the way and makes it look super clean. If you walk up, you can't see any of the wiring. With that being said, you are gonna have to drill some holes. Best way to drill the holes is gonna be to drill the top one, because you can't get anything through here because of this stud. No way to really mark it. Find out kind of where you want it, drill your top one, and then use that hole to base where your bottom one's gonna be. And you can actually reach through here and make a mark, and you can drill it from the inside going out. We went ahead and drilled our hole, and then we would just stick our hardware through. But also, whenever we were doing this, I found it's easier if you go ahead and make your connections before you attach it to the frame. So that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna go ahead and make all of our connections before we attach it to anything. So we're gonna look on top here, and everything has a colored stud. So we see a blue stud here. That's gonna go to our blue wire. That's gonna be our winch ground. So we're gonna go ahead and take our stud off. Just like that. Take our washers. Let's see, blue wire. We'll go ahead and attach it, just like that. Slide our lock washer as well as our flat washer back on. Go ahead and get our nut on there. We'll just hand tighten it. Like I said, we're gonna have to adjust our wires. You don't want to tighten it down and then it be in a bind. So then we'll go over here, pull our washers off, attach our wire to our stud, install the washers. And we'll go ahead and grab our hot wire off the battery, which will be the red wire, and we'll attach it to the red post. The wires, or the washers. Go ahead and slide the wire on. The reason we cut this wire so long is because we're going to make sure that it wraps around the battery and doesn't go over top of it. You know, make sure it's in the best possible location it can be. And we'll have to check all those clearances and everything once we put our battery back in our machine. So the last wire to attach is going to be the black wire. It's going to go to the black stud for ground. So ground to black, just like that. Alright, so now we're just going to kind of lay it down into place here. You can kind of take your hot wire and kind of tuck it back behind where it's going to go, just like that. The ground wire is going to kind of lay up underneath here. And then the rest of our wires will just tuck down and out of the way. So now we're just going to go through and we're going to go ahead and fully tighten all of these studs. It's always good to do this with the battery unhooked as well, because if your wrench slips and you touch a hot to a ground, it's not going to be good. So then we're going to go ahead and slide it into place. Once you've done the step, you'll go ahead and just take your hardware, slide it through. And then here's the tricky part. You'll have to reach in there as well and get your nut started. And once we have our hardware started for our solenoid, we'll go ahead and fully tighten it. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to come to the center portion of the dash. We're going to remove this entire panel. We're going to do that by removing the two Phillips headed screws located here as well as here. Then we'll remove these two push pins. Then we'll open up this compartment, remove these two push pins. Here and here. Hold it on here, make sure we got our screws out. Then we'll just take this panel, pull it straight off. Kind of angle it down and out of the way. And as you can see, this exposes the bus bar. Now on this machine, the accessory power is wired up, but nothing else. So with our winch, we're going to be using the winch rocker switch that can be purchased off the website. We've already cut the hole in our dash for our rocker switch. You can use any of the 5 available here. So if you're not using the winch rocker switch, you would just mount your hardwired switch wherever you'd like it to be. But we're going to take our connection, which is going to run all the way down here and connect to the solenoid where we just previously installed it. We're going to feed this as well as the red wire through. And once you get the red wire through, I like to kind of wrap it around this. That way it stays with it as we feed it through the tunnel here. You can wrap it up quite a bit and then almost make just like a little knot in it. That way it stays together. So we'll pull it all the way through. Just like this. Switch pops in, and we'll go ahead and start feeding it down. And we're going to feed it down behind here like this, and down through the hole and that access port that we previously removed. But we'll move down to the bottom here to look at that. But before we move down to the bottom, we're going to go ahead and take the red wire that's provided in the kit, We went ahead and crimped an eyelet connector on it, and then just a heat shrink connector on this side to connect it to the other portion of the wire. And we'll go right here to the post where the accessory power is. We'll take it, and we'll just lay our connector like that. And you can even go over here to the opposite side and flip it around. That way it goes on nicely. And we'll just go ahead and put our nut back on. And we'll want to go ahead and fully tighten this nut here. So we have this side of our wire, which is going to be the side that's going to connect to the winch, and this side that's connected to the keyed on power source. We'll just go ahead and slide our wire here into the connector. And just go ahead and crimp them down. Take a heat gun and shrink down this connector. So now we're going to take this connection here and we're going to feed it back through the tunnel, back towards our solenoid. Should be able to reach through and grab a hold of it. We'll go back over to the driver's side and we'll make our connection. We'll just route them right underneath this bar. Pull them down through here tight like this. Then we'll come down here to this connection on the solenoid. Go right together like this. Then we'll just go ahead and thread the nut on there just like that. And then you might have some excess wiring. What you can do is just kind of loosely roll it together, and you can throw a zip tie around it, and then you can just tuck it back and up and out of the way. Once you have it all tied up, you can just tuck it right up underneath the gas tank. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over here to where our wires are ran through our side panel. We're going to take our side panel and we're going to reinstall it, and you can see this cutout right here. That's where the wires are going to lay. Kawasaki actually makes this panel so you can run your wires through it. It makes it look nice and clean and easy. So we'll go ahead and reinstall our center panel here. Get it all back in place, and we'll come down here and we'll pull our wiring tight to where it lines up with the cutout. And we'll go ahead and take our panel, slide it back into place here. We'll take our push pins and we'll go ahead and reinstall all of those. And we'll go ahead and reinstall the push pins for the center console as well. Now all you're going to do is go through, reinstall your battery, make sure you connect your terminals to the battery, make sure all your connections are tight, reinstall your trim panel, your seat, go through, make sure all your components are reinstalled, and that's how super easy it is to install SuperATV's winch and winch mount on the Kawasaki KRX 1000. For more information on our winch mount, or any of SuperATV's great products, feel free to give us a call at 855-743-3427 or check us out online at superatv.com. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.